Welcome one, welcome all to the greatest show of them all. It is the NFC East Mixtape volume. I have no idea. You can listen to us on any one of the SB Nation NFC East blog podcast networks. Make sure to subscribe, leave a rating, write a review to your preferred one, and then hop across to a different leave a rating, write a review for them as well. You can also watch this on the Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channel or the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel, where I think you saw an awkward moment of silence. We didn't know exactly when we were starting. I say we. My name is Ochoa from Blog on the Boys. He is Brandon Lee Gowton from Bleeding Green Nation. BLG, what is your favorite thing about Threads so far?
I mean, I'm in a bad mood, RJ.
I
Kind of
know.
grumpy because of all this nonsense going on. Didn't have to ruin Twitter, but I guess it is what it is. And now there's Threads, there's Blue Sky, there's Mastodon, there's all this stuff. Follow me on all of it. I don't know. I think I'm on Blue Sky and I'm on Threads so far, but like, I really just don't want to look at it and open up different apps. Opening up one app is enough. That already
Right.
takes enough effort and time. And also, I'm someone who insanely, to a detriment, like I think I've said this before. I don't know here, maybe elsewhere. And by the way, it's episode 119 of the mixtape, volume number, I should say. I read every single tweet every single day. Like I need to look at every single thing. So I can't do. I want to curse. We don't curse on the show. I want to curse. I can't do multiple apps and tracking all that. And like, how do I know like, there's something important on one? It's like I need one app, super app, to follow all the other apps. It's too frustrating. So I'm not really feeling great.
My friend Mike in college and I, this was like a long time ago, which makes me sad, but we once tried to communicate like on a single day through as many different platforms as we could. So it was like, okay,
awful.
like we called and sent a text message and sent an email. Then like I think we were like tweeting at each other back then. I don't think we were like DMing wasn't as popular of a thing. Like there was all like it was a cool thing, but now it would be incredibly overwhelming to your point. You
Like,
and I make it very.
How do you know if someone like sends you a message on something? Like, oh, I didn't check that. And I'm not. I'm also someone who doesn't have notifications on my phone except for like text and like very few things because you can just get inundated. I feel like you turn notifications on and then it's consuming you because you're looking at your phone. And also, I feel like I look at my phone enough to where I don't need notifications because I'm looking at it so much anyway. You know what I mean? I don't want another reason to then look at it when I'm already looking at it so much. So yeah, I'm complaining a lot, but it sucks.
Well, so a few things. One, Brandon and I make it very simple for you, the loyal listener or viewer. He is on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Brandon Gowton. I am on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at RJ Ochoa. Just our first and last names, nice and simple, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. That's that. We're going to turn that frown upside down, Brandon. Second, a bit of a programming note for the listeners. We told them on our Dumpster Fire series episode, which thank you all for the wonderful comments on, that we would be recording this well ahead of time. We normally record on Tuesdays, which is the day before. Or no, yeah, Tuesday, right? Record the day before. Yes, I'm lost on time. We normally record on Tuesdays. We're actually recording this on Thursday, July the 6th for release Wednesday, July the 12th. So if something massive happens in the NFC East between now and then, which it probably won't, we'll have you covered on each respective team site, but obviously not on this episode. I'm traveling to California, super excited about it, and Brandon was cool enough to jump on early. BLG, we're going to do our All NFC East team offensive edition today, which is going to be very exciting. But before we do, I do have a review. I mentioned that people can subscribe, leave a rating, and write a review. It's kind of long, so we're going to have to like rush through this a little bit because we're tight on time in real life. But it comes to us on the Blog on the Boys side of things. It is from Dave H45.
Dave helping.
It might be. I don't know. I don't think Dave's attached to the number 45. I'll ask him. But 5-star rating. And it is titled NFC East Mixtape Question. It actually says June 26th. I don't know how I missed this. But here we go. What's up, guys? Thought this would be a fun exercise. Would you swap out the rivals thing with your teams? So RJ would swap with the Eagles. BLG would swap with the Cowboys. So we'll just go yes or no. Uniforms. No for me.
No.
Coaching staffs. No for me. I don't like it. Yeah. Rosters, including quarterback.
No.
Yeah. Stadium. I wouldn't. Maybe you would. I wouldn't.
Yes.
Oh, we got our first yes. Quarterback. I wouldn't, but
No.
I understand if some would. Owner.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for your sake, as what you do in your job, Jerry Jones is very good for you content wise.
Yeah.
As opposed to Lurie, who only talks like maybe once or twice a year. But and you're talking about like team success, then probably you are.
There's a lot to this. I will say I believe that Jerry Jones loves the Cowboys and wants them to succeed, but he also loves a lot of things, and those good in his own way. So that one's like a half yes for me. Wide receiver room, the room maybe.
No.
I think I would. The room right now, I would. So
Yeah, you would. I wouldn't.
I like this one, number 8. Attitude / funness of the fan base, and then in parentheses it says how they react
No.
after loss, how they troll,
No.
intensity level. No, I don't want any. I don't want to be a part of that. I want nothing to do with that. So no, thank you. Number 9, organizational philosophy and direction.
No.
If you had asked me this even a year ago, I would have said absolutely. But I'm willing to trust the Cowboys more based on the way they've acted this offseason. So I'm not ready to jump ship. Finally, number 10, all pass rushers. Absolutely not for me.
No.
That was cool. That was fun. I like that idea. It involves kind of looking at each other's stuff and saying, like, I
So
like
I
this
only
coach.
took the stadium, I think.
That was your, yeah. Why? What is your biggest gripe, I guess, with the link?
I don't hate the link. I just think that and some people like, the idea of snow and whatever weather games and outdoors, but I don't know. I think, I think part of my problem with the link and then the Eagles midnight green jerseys is I think they very much or symbolize the time they were built in or established, which is like early 2000s. Whereas, the Cowboy Stadium is obviously newer. It's got that big screen, which I've never seen in person, but think it would be cool to see. Although it's kind of dumb when it interferes with the punting and whatnot. But I think the stadium seems to be pretty cool. And also, like Jimmy talks about how good the press box is and the mac and cheese and everything. So selfishly, I would get to experience that more if I had that. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone who hasn't been, its locale is also really cool. Like it's near, both Rangers ballparks now. I don't know if you knew the Rangers have a new one that's like literally like right across the street from their old one. It's near Six Flags. Like it's a fun vibe. It's a cool atmosphere. Like there's like absolutely nothing beats like a cool, crisp November day when it's like just cold enough that you can kind of feel it on your face. You know what I'm talking about? But it's sunny. And you're walking up to the stadium. It rules. It rocks. So okay, let's get to it. The 2023 All NFC East Team Offensive Edition. If it isn't obvious, we will do defense next week, and then we'll do obviously the special teams after because they are a part of the game. When we do the special teams episode, we didn't talk about this, Brandon. I think we'll save the coaching staffs for that. We'll do head coach, offensive coordinator, and defensive coordinator then as well.
GM.
This is just players, maybe owners, who knows, stadiums, maybe. Anyway, first up on the docket, quarterback. So if you're new to this, what we're doing is picking among all NFC East teams. And so in this case, we have to pick a singular quarterback. We're putting together an offense in 11 personnel. So we need 3 wide receivers, we need 1 running back, 1 tight end, 5 offensive linemen. We'll get to that. We had some discussion on that pre-show. But the quarterback position, do you want to go first? Should I go first? I think this is going to be pretty obvious nonetheless.
It has to be Jalen Hurts. I think you can say that you think Dak Prescott might be better in 2023. You can say you might believe that can happen, but as it stands right now, you can't say that he should be ranked above Jalen Hurts, especially coming off the season that he is, and also given the trajectory of Jalen Hurts. I've mentioned a lot of times he doesn't even turn 25 until like August here. So in theory, like I don't even know. Statistically, you might say, okay, he's due to regress, sure, and there's some truth to that. We've covered that already here on the podcast. But in terms of like he could still theoretically like get better. Like I don't think he's hit his ceiling by any means. So you have to go with not just what he's done, but also I think the upside and the way he's trending as well. And I mean, he's the best quarterback in the conference. It's Jalen Hurts.
So I haven't said this, but I think we've been doing some videos on our YouTube channel that have been a training camp preview series and kind of looking at position by position. And when I was talking about the cornerbacks, I was talking about Trayvon Diggs, and I said that I thought he was a better player last year, even though he didn't have the interceptions, right? And I think that I think people hear what you said and like it's possible that Jalen Hurts gets better, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's impossible. Like he had this like stupid, amazing, statistical season. Like he could be a better quarterback, you know what I mean, without like having as much statistical success. I know that sounds stupid, and people don't want to like understand that kind of thing. So yeah, he can totally become a better passer, a better reader, a better like field general, whatever verbiage you want to assign to it, without the like amazing statistical volume production that he had in 2023. The answer is definitely Jalen Hurts. Just to be very clear, that's my vote for this. Obviously, it's not apples to apples to compare their careers because Dak has been a top, whatever you want to call it, quarterback for a long stretch of time. You mentioned Jalen's the best quarterback in the conference. Again, I think it's amazing that Dak is the longest tenured starting quarterback in the NFL, right? And for the most part, all that time, he's been a top 10 at worst quarterbacks. You're talking about a very long time here up against,
Mm.
not even a 2-year sample size, 2 full years, I guess, if you really want to say and stretch it out. And I also think that Jalen Hurts' 2022 season is better than any season that we've ever seen Dak Prescott have. So
Yeah.
you're taking like what is the peak from, the peak belongs to Jalen. And we'll see. Like the matters that like I think you would hold against Jalen are probable, maybe if you want to argue that, but they're not real yet, right? They're not objective. They're all speculative. Oh yeah, he's probably going to regress. He's probably going to throw more picks. He's probably going to run less, whatever. Those are all still unknown commodities to me, which is why he's the answer.
It's also a level of and we talked about this with Jimmy Kempski a little bit on the dumpster diving episode. Like Dak kind of is what he is to some extent at this point by virtue of he's going to be 30 later this month, and he's played in the NFL since what 2016 now. He's had multiple injuries. Like I don't know that that there's really an ascension to be had here. It's not impossible. I think some guys have had better years later on in their careers, but if you look at the general trajectory of things, I think he's kind of relatively is what he is, and that's not necessarily a put down. He has played at a level where you'll take what he is to some extent, but it's not like okay, there's this great ceiling here that's left to be reached, and you have to wonder about that. Whereas again, Jalen Hurts. I mean, don't go back and watch the Super Bowl because that sounds painful if you're an Eagles fan. Maybe more so you'll enjoy it if you're a Cowboys fan. But Hurts was awesome in that game, man, and that's like it's a pretty big deal to go up in against the Chiefs and Mahomes in that spot and didn't get it done. Obviously, he dropped the ball, cost him the game in some ways, but like outside of that, which is a big outside of that, but he was awesome in that game. He saved his best football really for like the biggest game of the year. And moving forward, I think that gives you confidence. Like, okay, this guy can be a championship winning caliber quarterback. We've seen him like show up on a really big stage as a passer and a dynamic weapon, and you have to feel good about that.
So last question, and then we'll move on to the running back. You are somebody who always asks this question, and I really like it. Is what is the precedent? But you won't like this question. But like, what is the precedent for the fall off? Right? Like if this truly was this like one-off, cast-off, outlier sort of year for Jalen Hurts' career, if that winds up being the case, who is the precedent for that we've seen that from? Like just like a one, like oh my gosh, this dude like hit hit it, and he was amazing, and then like kind of dissipated and fell off.
I mean, it's hard to say to the extent of going to the Super Bowl or being maybe a
Yeah,
near
like
MVP,
it's never going to be exact, but like what is a
but
similar, situation?
well, just even in Eagles history, like Nick Foles, there's been quarterbacks, and I'm not talking about the Super Bowl
Mm,
run Nick Foles. I'm talking about like 2013 Nick Foles. There's been quarterbacks
the seven touchdown game. Yeah.
in Eagles history who've had, or in NFL history too, like who have that one good year. Look at Case Keenum. Like it's not super hard for quarterbacks to have like one good year. That can happen, but it's about stacking it and showing you can have staying power. That's much harder to do, and that's like one of the next big challenges for Jalen Hurts.
The example that I thought of was RG3's rookie year, right? Like, and that just happened to be his rookie year, and then like it was like, were you ever scared of RG3 after that? Like, no, you know what I mean? It was just like really like a 1 year thing. The other example that was a good example with Case Keenum, but was Ryan Fitzpatrick in 2015 with the Jets. Remember when
I
I
thought
think they
about that
went
too.
10-6. And they missed the playoffs, but he had Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker and everybody. And then he held out and they paid him, and then it just like fell all the way apart. It's like,
Hmm.
again, this was an extreme level of success. Like that was just kind of moderate success. But that was what I thought of. So, okay, Jalen Hurts is the quarterback here. Time for the running back discussion. So we didn't really go through the quarterback options, but I think there are only two real contenders here. And it's Tony Pollard and Saquon Barkley. And so
Hmm.
it's a matter of like who you believe in. Like, do you believe in Saquon kind of establishing himself long term again? Do you believe in the higher potential of Tony Pollard and him coming back from the injury? But I don't know disrespect. I don't think Brian Robinson is a real case here. I don't think Rashad Penny or DeAndre Swift are really in the conversation. It's really down to Pollard and Barkley.
I think it has to be Saquon. And I mean, Pollard's coming off this like serious injury. He's also hasn't really proven at any level. Again, something we talked about with Jimmy in the dumpster episode about he doesn't have any kind of real extensive track record of being a volume back, and Saquon does. If we're building this NFC East mixtape all-star team, like it in theory, it's not just for one game. I feel like we're building like a season-long kind of thing. And I think you trust Saquon. Like Saquon has proven he can be a workhorse. Like he has proven that. So And he did bounce back a little bit last year. I think certainly more than you and I expected him to. We actually had Saquon still as our running back last year over Zeke. I have the results from last year here as well to compare and contrast. But yeah, I think it has to be Saquon. I know we can talk about Pollard because his efficiency is really good, but the injury scares me, and the fact that he's never been a true volume back, I can't give that to him here.
So, have you noticed that StatHead has a new versus tool? Have you played with this at all?
No.
It's really cool. Like you can pick obviously two or more, and you can stack them up instead of like. I mean, we can all do this, but like by hand. But it's really kind of handy. I'll send you a screenshot in a little bit of how it looks. So this is Saquon versus Tony Pollard, like just head to head stats comparison, whatever. So in their careers, Tony, do you know Tony Pollard's played more games? I mean, I don't know that that's like shocking. I mean, he was drafted 1 year later, but still, he's played 62 games to Saquon's 60. Saquon has 954 rushing attempts to Tony Pollard's 510. So you're talking about almost twice as much. Obviously, he has almost twice as many yards. He has 4,200 to Tony Pollard's 2,600. Tony Pollard has 5.1 yards per carry to Saquon's 4.5. Barkley has him beat on rushing touchdowns, certainly receptions. Has almost twice as many receiving yards. Pollard has him edged out on yards per reception. Pollard's limited action as a returner has him beat out as well. The totality of who they've been, obviously, over their careers is, it leans in favor of Barkley. But if we isolate this to just 2019 through 2022, which A, removes Saquon's amazing rookie season, and B, only looks at Pollard's career, it still favors Barkley a little bit in terms of overall production. But since just 2019, and Barkley's missed a lot of time since then, Barkley has 2,900 rushing yards. Pollard has 2,600. And keep in mind, obviously, he wasn't a featured back in that time. I would bet on Pollard's upside. Like that's where I feel like
injury, really.
Well, is Saquon the beacon of health? Is that like
he's not coming off of like a massive injury directly,
but he's coming off this massive workload. I mean, you know what I mean? Like Pollard,
and so is Pollard relative to him, relative to his career, what he's done before.
Massive. No,
yes, it is relative to what he's proven he can be handled before.
I think I'm fine saying Saquon as far as like and we should base it off of like the most recent results, like or lean more heavily off of 2022. Saquon had an amazing season, and we've both eaten a lot of crow about that. But I do want to differentiate and say if I were drafting, I would draft Pollard. I would much prefer Pollard for the future than Saquon.
Again, if it was one game, I think you could take Pollard. But I don't think it's just about one game. I think we're building like a team that, in theory, is like going out and playing a season. Like you're entering a season with this lineup.
Again, I'm approaching the exercise more differently. Like you said, all stars. Like that's how I'm kind of doing it. I'm like I'm handing out like all-star votes, not like forecasting.
Well, it's not like a game. I'm not saying an all-star game. I'm saying like the best. You're going into the season with the best possible team is my vision for this.
So the next subject. So we've established Jalen Hurts running back. I'm sorry. Well, some people would say running back, but so Jalen Hurts quarterback. Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley running back. So you wanted to do. And I think we should flesh this out. You wanted to do left tackle, left
every
guard.
year. I feel like.
Well, like we should consider it like who's truly the best. Like that's I think we should
every position.
I think we should pick 2 tackles, 2 guards, and a center. You want to do it this way because Lane Johnson is baked into the right tackle argument.
That's not true. I don't want to do it.
That's totally because if we pick the 2 best tackles in the
best
NFC
player
East,
from every position in the NFC East. It's very simple.
But that's not like practical.
Yes, that's football. That's all-star.
Well, if that's football, then Tyron Smith is eligible at right tackle because he had to go play the position.
You're right.
Like,
I agree.
But like then anyone's eligible anywhere.
Why would you put him over Lane Johnson?
But like that's like saying anyone is eligible. Well, I can argue against Lane Johnson because he's going to get hurt too. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the problem. Like,
I mean, that's why has not missed nearly as much time as Tyron Smith has.
If this is an all-star ballot, which is how I look at it, I think it should be 2 tackles, 2 guards, and a center. I think that makes the most
same team
sense. No. I'm saying we're picking the 2 tackles for the NFC East all-star team. That's what I'm saying. But we're picking 2 tackles from the division. So like it could seem like theoretically it could be 2 left tackles or 2 right tackles.
I mean their ability to play right tackle is important.
But it's an all-star team. We're not actually. You said it yourself. We're not playing a game. We're picking the best. We're fielding the best possible.
I think you can say Lane Johnson is one of the best left tackles in this division, even if you're going to play him at left tackle.
So I mean, like,
but it's not about that.
Who's the best tackle? Who's the best tackle on the Eagles? That's my question.
It's Lane Johnson, and we've done left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle.
Fine. Let me rearrange
This is
things a little
isn't
bit.
this how the all pro team works?
I know,
Like,
but I'm still
you're not
advocating.
taking just 10 left tackles and then you're putting one at right tackle.
Who's taking 10? That's
Well, whatever
ridiculous.
whatever the number is,
Okay,
4 or
so
2 or
give
whatever.
me one more second. Buy me time. Buy me time for
It's
something.
its own position. Like,
Buy me time. Buy me
there's
time for
different
something.
things about the
Okay.
position. You
I've
can't just
I've
take anyone and move them somewhere
I've waved
else.
the white flag here. All right. I can't wait to post the all-star team on threads and upset you about it. But okay, left tackle. So we're looking at the best left tackle specifically in the NFC East. Your thoughts.
It has to be Andrew Thomas. I mean, he's gotten a lot better since his bad rookie year. Still pretty young too, so in theory, again, hasn't even necessarily hit his ceiling. I believe he was. I'm looking it up here. He was like he's one of the top graded offensive tackles in the entire league. One of the top graded linemen. Yeah, Andrew Thomas was third last year among all offensive tackles, actually only behind Lane Johnson at number 2. So I think it's Andrew Thomas. I mean, who else are we talking about here? Jordan Mailata, I think, is good, but is behind Andrew Thomas. Charles Leno is, I think, also a good player, but certainly not ahead of either. Well, you can argue Mailata, but definitely not ahead of Thomas. And then you're talking about Tyron Smith or Tyler Smith. I don't think you're taking either of those guys over Andrew Thomas at this stage, especially, again, considering that Andrew Thomas is only 24 years old.
I agree with most of this. I think who's the strongest case? I think the strongest, and again, like it depends how you play this game, and that's usually where our disagreements come from. Is like, are you forecasting for the future? Are you basing it off of last year? Because if you're basing it off of last year, I do think Tyler Smith has a strong case, and I certainly think Tyler Smith
Over
has a
Andrew Thomas?
hang on. But I think the stronger case for Tyler at left tackle is forecasting into the future, right? Like who you want. But some of like what's hindered Tyler in this particular game is that he's like moved around, right? And that's just like the way the Cowboys have needed him. So there's not enough of a sample size to like say he's there now. And again, that's where like I lean more towards like, forecasting whatever. But now I'm if we're gonna go like all stars, whatever, I do think Andrew Thomas is the answer. So congratulations to him. The New York Giants
How about
leading the way
that?
so far.
The Giants having an offensive lineman. When was the last time we had one of them on one of our all-star teams?
Sean O'Hara, left
It
guard.
doesn't. We on
Left
our
guard.
teams, I'm saying, actually.
No, I know.
I don't think it's happened.
This has to be Tyler Smith then. I mean, like he was
At left guard?
sensational. That like now see like this is what you wanted to do. You wanted to bake in a disadvantage against the Cowboys.
It's not what I wanted to do.
He is by far the best option of all available players to play left guard. The fact that he's even in contention at left tackle is in and of itself an example. You're going to argue for Landon Dickerson, who you've hated on for like a year and a half. You're gonna you yourself said when I called him underrated, you were like, oh yeah, well whatever. Like he kind of benefits from like playing for this team. Like no, like this is
bad.
This is absolutely
better than a rookie.
Tyler Smith is one of the like 5 best second year or linemen who are at least in their second year in the NFL. Like he is one of the in every metric. I mean, pick one. Like
name one. No, you name one. I'm asking.
I don't have access to PFF's tackle grades or guard grades, but like I know you do, and I know that Tyler Smith is highly ranked.
Dickerson is at 15, and I'm looking for. So they're listing, I think, because of
Tyler Smith didn't play guard last year. Again, this was the advantage you wanted to bake in to work against Tyler Smith.
It's not an advantage. I mean,
it is. It's a disadvantage for Tyler Smith because he played guard so sparingly last year.
Tyler Smith was 25th among the tackles. So his grade was 73.3. And then you have Landon Dickerson, who was, and I don't know, these numbers are also, who cares? Dickerson was 72.1. So Tyler Smith has a slight edge in this number.
Now these numbers are whatever. But
well, I mean,
a moment ago, it was like, what metric? What metric? Name a metric. And now it's these numbers are whatever.
So it's like what is 0.8 of a PFF grade mean to you? Like, how do you quantify that?
It's objectively better. And so that's why I said, your question was, what metric is he better in? I provided that answer for you.
Okay,
and now,
was he a Pro Bowler last year?
What?
Was he a Pro Bowler last year?
He wasn't a left guard last year. Again, this was the disadvantage you worked in to work against Tyler Smith.
Of a proven Pro Bowl left guard last year.
The answer, the best option. So you're telling me if you could take Tyler Smith right now to be the left guard for the Eagles over Landon Dickerson, you wouldn't?
I would take Landon Dickerson. Why? Look, are you just like forgetting Landon Dickerson's background? Like,
I'm not. I'm not sick. Like, this is the difference. Like, you're leaning on semantics.
Alabama.
You're leaning on semantics to keep Tyler Smith out of it when you know that he is objectively a better player, but he's a unique hybrid right now.
I think Landon Dickerson has played I don't think, actually, he has played at pretty much every position on the offensive line, and I think versatility is important as well, so I can make the
Tyler
case that he
Smith
can
played
play.
left tackle last year. That's
Landon
my whole
Dickerson
point.
has played tackle, he's played center, and he's played guard. He's played all three. So no, he's actually more versatile than Tyler Smith is. But I
Tyler
don't
Smith
think Tyler Smith's playing at
hasn't been
center.
needed to play center, and again, he did it
Neither
as
is
a
Dickerson,
rookie.
but he can if he needs
He was
to, and that's
a
more
rookie
valuable.
sensation. This is absolutely Tyler Smith. You got
No.
Saquon Barkley to be the running back over Tony Pollard.
Because
this is
he's
absolutely
not
Tyler
coming
Smith.
off a massive knee injury and actually proving his volume.
Tyler Smith is
reliable.
objectively, as you just proved, you just read the grades out yourself, a better lineman in this capacity, in this discussion, than Landon Dickerson.
Yeah,
and I'm a fan. I had Landon Dickerson as the most underrated player on my
list. Then you're going against what you're saying.
No, I'm not.
I'm leaning
on an objective grade. Again, you have no problem spouting off, these grades when it comes to DeMarcus Lawrence sucking or anything else. But now that it leans Tyler Smith over Landon Dickerson, the shoe is on the other foot.
Lawrence grades out well.
This is Tyler Smith.
I've never used that against them.
Maybe not him, but this is Tyler Smith. Congratulations.
No, it's not. It's
Landon
Dickerson.
It is. You just proved it. If you and I are split, we have to lean on something to be a tiebreaker, and the tiebreaker leans Tyler Smith here.
I think the listeners should decide.
I think the listeners are seeing you walk yourself back. That you don't want to.
What am I walking back?
Now it's just these are just these numbers or whatever. No, a moment ago it was like
no, I didn't say they're whatever. I said I don't know how to.
You said what metric? I provided one. It favors Tyler Smith.
Yeah, and I said Landon Dickerson.
The jury has read the verdict. Center. Do we really have to waste time? Well, actually, let's do center and then we'll take a break. Center is really
Jason Kelce. It's the end.
Yeah.
What else are you putting there? You can't say. No one would say Biotish over Kelce. No, come on.
Well, no one is going to say it, but I was going to answer who's the competition or who would be second. It's probably Tyler, right? Just off of seniority, you know what I mean? But he's not.
Otherwise, you're talking about John Michael Schmitz, who's a complete unknown as a rookie, and then you're talking about who's even who has. I mean, it's not Chase Roulier anymore, who recently retired, by the way. It is. I'm looking at the Commander's depth chart, and it is Nick Gates, who was actually formerly a guard center for the Giants. So no.
So
Ricky Stromberg, maybe I think he's a rookie.
So if it wasn't obvious, left guard, it might be the closest argument right now that we've had with Tyler Smith edging out Landon Dickerson. But the widest gap is clearly center, right? Can you name a position we've done so far that has a wider gap between the player we picked and who might be second? No, right? It's clearly Jason Kelce.
I'm looking at okay. All right.
Do you agree with it?
I'm looking at something. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Yes.
Okay. So congratulations to Jason Kelce. Maybe you'll hop on our podcast. All right, let's take a very quick break to hear a word from our sponsors. Welcome back, Brandon. While we were gone, you told me who your preferred starter in Pokemon is and why.
We've talked about this before, and you get.
I know, but I couldn't think of anything else in the moment. I didn't want to ask a food thing. I've been asking food things a lot. So.
Well, I'm not going to use the original one, like Bulbasaur, who I picked.
Oh well, that's
Charizard or
Charizard. Wow, show some and Charmander.
Charmander and Squirtle. I'm going to go with I forget the original version of it, but the newest, or one of the newer ones.
You've lost me.
Sword and Shield for the Switch.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with the one that evolves into Rillaboom. I don't know what the original form of that is, but I really like. Oh, from Grookey. Yeah, Grookey. Grookey is the one you pick. It's like this little cute little monkey guy. I'll send a picture of it to you, and I think you'll enjoy it very much. I'm sending it right now in Slack, and then that evolves into Rillaboom, who's like this really cool, tough-looking dude. So it's fun.
While you're sending that, I forgot to send the comparison thing. I do think this is really cool. 1 second. I'm sending this right now. I just saw your image. That looks like if there was a Pokemon monkey. Yeah,
it's cute.
It looks like. Yeah. So isn't that cool? Like what StatHead does now? What I just sent you.
I'm looking at it, and yeah, okay.
It's convenient. It's an easier way to see that information. So.
It looks like those misleading graphics you'll see on Instagram or whatever when someone's making an insane comparison.
Threads on
Instagram.
Instagram.
Whatever.
All right, let's move on. Right guard. So
Zach Martin.
Yeah, this might be a similar argument for a biggest gap with Jason. Who's the contender?
Yeah, I mean you're talking about Glowinski, right, from the Giants, who's just a guy, I would say. You're talking. Is
Mhm.
he still on the team? I think so.
Yeah.
You're also talking about. Yes, he is. You're talking about on the Commanders. Man, we really do not know the Commanders.
I mean,
Sam
I don't think
Cosmi.
anyone's going to penalize you for not knowing who the Commander's starting right guard is off the top of
Well,
your head.
who have they moved in from right tackle? Sam Cosmi. And then you're talking about, we don't even know for the Eagles. It's either Cam Jurgens, who I think really doesn't belong at guard and is probably going to be a really good center. But I just kind of question if he can handle or hold up at guard, specifically as he's starting next to Jason Kelsey, who's already small. And then there's Tyler Steen, who's a rookie that the Eagles drafted, who might be the Eagles right guard at some point. So yeah, it's no contest. It is Zach Martin.
Right tackle. Well, actually, before we get to right tackle, Zach Martin's just like it. Like right now, I think that there are, if the like NFL ended today, there are 2 Hall of Famers in the NFC East actively. Jason Kelsey. I was wrong about that a long time ago. I'm fine admitting that now. Jason Kelsey and Zach Martin. Right? Like
You said he
there are
was the
other.
most overrated player on the
I
Eagles a
mean,
few
well, look,
years ago.
I've been wrong. Like I have no problem admitting when I was wrong. I was wrong about that. So,
I
but
have
now,
in last year's thing, I have written down here in my notes, last year's All Star team. I wrote, "Do you think Kelsey is a Hall of Famer?" By the way, and I think we had to talk about it.
I mean, well, obviously he like he had the massive like exclamation point season, and like it helps him that the team had this. You know what I mean? Like he will now like also not that he's undeserving, but he will benefit from like the team success and narrative and things like that. And that's what
He's a
would happen.
six-time Pro
Like
Bowler and five-time All Pro.
Zach Martin is a Hall of Famer, but if the Cowboys were to have like a if they lost the Super Bowl, right? Like if they had an equally similar season to the Eagles last year and they won the NFC, like it would be an all the more like lock of his like case. You know what I'm saying? So like there are other players in the division that are on trajectory to Hall of Fame careers, but as far as dudes who you can like bet on 100% right now, Zach Martin, except for 2020 when he missed time due to injury. That's the only time he's missed like legit time. He's been an All-Pro, Pro Bowler every single season. Like he's just the hallmark of consistency. Like he's the best player on the Dallas Cowboys that isn't Micah Parsons. It's amazing. So, this is his 10th NFL season though. Time flies in the NFL. So, right tackle. So the contenders are Lane Johnson, Terrence Steele. If the Cowboys don't kick him to obviously
Put Tyron Smith in here.
they'll have to put Tyron Smith in here.
I mean, if they've played like I don't like the idea of just putting someone at right tackle if they've definitely never played it at all. But if like Tyron Smith, who has done that at least a little bit, I think that's fair. I think that's in the conversation. They have to at least realistically like been in this consideration at some point.
Evan Neal is a contender technically.
No,
and,
he's not. Not after that.
Well, I mean, well, if we're listing the entrants, you know what I'm saying? Like he's an entrant. And I think we have our winner in Andrew Wiley because he surrendered 0 sacks in the Super Bowl. So
very, very funny. He also
anyway,
allowed the 4th most sacks in the NFL last year.
But how many did he surrender in the Super Bowl that his team won?
When the field helped him, he had none.
The coping is so off the charts.
It's not
anyway,
really a cope. It's just like watch the game. Like
it's a cope. It's a cope.
It wasn't. So here's the thing: the field thing was not even a hindsight take. I was saying this during the game while the Eagles were up 10 points at half that the field was terrible and impacting their pass rush. While they were winning, I was saying this. It is not like a hindsight sore loser thing. I was saying it as they were winning the game. I was saying it as they're winning the game.
As opposed to the Niners fans who didn't say a word about their quarterback situation during the title game.
Who definitely had a lead and definitely were ahead in that game. Yeah, that's definitely the same situation.
Anyway, the answer, I think Terrence Steele is an underrated right tackle, but you can be
also watered the field before the game, just like the 49ers decided to block their
I think Terrence Steele is an underrated right tackle, underrated player in general, but he's not better at right tackle than Lane Johnson. So like this is absolutely Lane Johnson. I think a lot of times this is obvious, but like a lot of times it's super obvious how in the NFL, unless your quarterback is left-handed, obviously. But so Lane Johnson's managed to do that. The answer is him. Again, I think second place is Terrence Steele, but he's still way too, what's the opposite of long in the tooth? Like short in the tooth? He's still short in the tooth compared to Lane Johnson. Doesn't have the career resume.
I think you can make the case Lane Johnson is the Eagles' best player. Like he's their best overall talent. You just talked about like how valuable he is. I think he's been so consistent there. He shuts down. Like I forget the last time he's allowed a sack. It's been a long time. He hasn't allowed a sack in a really long time. He is as set it and forget it as he can be over there. And Yeah, this idea like, okay, he plays right tackle, that's less valuable. Not true. He sees a lot of great edge rushers that go up against him as well, and he shuts them down. So yeah, I think, again, you can argue he is like their best player overall.
So along those lines, Lane Johnson very recently said that DeMarcus Lawrence is one of the best pass rushers that he faces on a regular basis. Your
Yes.
thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think he goes up against multiple times a year, and you're gassing
Mm,
up a divisional rival, and also you're more biased because he's faced
mm,
him way more times than he's faced any
mm.
other pass rusher. Is that not true? Do you think name
Wow.
the pass rushers that Lane Johnson has faced the most in his career, and DeMarcus Lawrence is probably up there.
The cope
So
is
it's
off the
different
charts this
when you're
episode.
facing, and
There's
also
just
name the amount of times Lane Johnson has allowed a sack to DeMarcus Lawrence. It's like
the
one
cope.
time.
The cope is off the
Wow, one
charts this
time.
episode.
Congrats, because there was a long stretch there where he hadn't allowed one at all.
We move on to the tight end position. So the contenders here, if we're talking about just like the names
Last
involved,
year,
I
you
don't.
had Dalton Schultz. Embarrassing.
He was coming off of an 8 touchdown season last year where he
And
was
what did I
tied for the
say?
team
Where
lead.
were these like impactful plays?
I
Like,
mean,
you
he
can't. You'd be missing him so much if you
he's
didn't
been
have him.
incredibly productive. Like I'm okay. So the contenders still are Logan Thomas, from the Commanders.
No,
Technically. Oh, well, again, I'm just laying out the names. I don't know who the contender is for the Cowboys. I really don't. Like I don't know if it's Jake
well, it's not going to be a
Ferguson
Dallas
or
Cowboy. Yeah,
yeah. But I'm just saying I don't know who that is. Like that's a low key thing surrounding the
Luke
Cowboys. Like,
Schoonmaker.
I don't know who like if we had to submit a player, I don't know who it would be for the Cowboys.
You can combine them
This
all together. It's still not
this comes
enough.
down to Darren Waller or Dallas Goedert. Like that's look from a conversational standpoint, that's what it is. The answer is Dallas Goedert. But if you believe that Darren Waller is going to be like unlocked again in New York, then maybe he has a better season. Like I can't say I know, and you can't either that possibility is zero or doesn't exist. But as far as who they are right now, certainly like careers to this point, the answer is Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, I think it's possible that Waller ends up having a more productive season, but based on recent track record and projection, Dallas Goedert is entering his age 28 season here. Likely would have been a Pro Bowler last year if he was not rendered ineligible to be voted for because he was on IR, which is dumb. And meanwhile, you're looking at a potentially over the hill Darren Waller based on the fact that his past couple seasons have not been as productive. Injury has been a factor in there. And he's entering his age 31 season. I don't know that the arrow is really pointing up on him so much. So yeah, you have to go with Goddard.
Yeah, I mean the age thing isn't that big of a deal to me. Like
I think it is. It's 3 years.
Well, I know, but like like you're making it sound like he's trash because he's 31 years old. Like I'm not.
Oh, it's not trash, but it's a combination of okay, his production has gone down, he's getting hurt a lot, and he's over 31. Like guys who are over 30 typically don't get more healthy.
That's fair. Okay, so to recap, because we're down to our final position group here, and we have 3 players to pick. Quarterback of this team, Jalen Hurts. Running back, Saquon Barkley. Offensive line, left to right, Andrew Thomas, Tyler Smith, Jason Kelsey, Zach Martin, Lane Johnson. Tight end, Dallas Goedert. We have not a single Washington Commander on this team.
Well, we will.
Well, we'll see about that. Wide receivers. So this one is the most like malleable to me. Like I don't think like is there even like a true slot receiver in the division that you would say like only plays in the slot? You know what I mean? Like, so that's why I'm saying like I think for the purposes of this exercise, we just have to pick the 3 best receivers.
I mean, CD kind of is based on last year. Like they used him.
He's really productive out of the slot, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
He's not like exclusive to it. You know
I
what
agree.
I mean? That's my point.
I think he would be the guy that you would put there if you're just making. Because obviously, I think with this concept here, like you're not overthinking it. If you're like the GM of this NFC East All-Star team, you're not like, oh, I need to find the best slot guy. No, you're not thinking that. You're just give me the 3 best receivers and we'll make it work. These guys are so good that we can figure it out.
My submission for the 3 best, because I think we're going to agree on maybe all of them, is AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin. That's my. I think
that's the only way you can like fairly do it because you can't leave McLaurin off. He has been elite and with like slop at quarterback. He has been really, really good. He was a big reason why the Commanders were able to upset the Eagles last year. He had a great game, and he's great. I mean, he's underrated from the standpoint of I think his numbers would be even better if he had at least a respectable quarterback to work with there. So he has to be on here. It also feels like you kind of have to have the Commanders represented at some level.
This is the MLB All-Star game where every team gets a
I mean,
representative.
it's not out of pity, but it is like it's a tiebreaker factor. If it's like between him and Devontae Smith, like I think you have to give it to McLaurin. I also think McLaurin has earned more benefit of the doubt than Devontae has, but it's close. It is kind of a crime that Devontae gets left off here just because of I think how good he is. But it's you have to have AJ, you have to have Terry, and I think you have to have CD. By the way, AJ Brown, second most yards per route run in the NFL. Or sorry, third most. He was tied for third most yards per route run last year with Jalen Waddle. The only two receivers ahead of him were Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson.
He was amazing. I mean, he picked up MVP votes like for a reason. Like he was stupid amazing. I think this is probably, and I think if we did this conversation or had this conversation for every division, I think this would be true. Like this is the most loaded, right? Like even though it was easy to come to a consensus 3, like we could talk about Devontae Smith, we could talk about Brandon Cooks. If you're like really stretching, you can start to talk about Jahan Dotson. You could start to talk about Michael Gallup. You know what I mean? Like, and Gallup has some more NFL experience, and you know what I mean. Jahan Dotson's still young, still coming off his rookie season. Like, there's just a lot of really, really good wide receivers in the NFL right now. Brandon was cutting out. I think he might be back. Is Brandon back? Are you back?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. While Brandon was out, he sent me a message that said Dak is his favorite player in the NFL. But yeah, like there's just a lot of amazing receivers in the NFL. It would like I think it would be difficult to pick 3 in any division. You know what I mean? Like even the divisions, like even the NFC South, like that division stinks, right? Like this isn't an NFC South mixtape, but like you could very easily get to 3 wide receivers without breaking a sweat.
Yeah, it's a great group. I think AJ is your wide receiver 1 from this. Like, I think if you tell me who's getting the most targets,
whatever you need to feel tall, Brandon.
Do you not think that way?
You can be taller than 6'5".
I think that if you're talking about who's getting the most targets on this team, I think it would be AJ. Now, obviously, I think all of them are getting a lot. It's not like he's getting by far and away the most, but I think
okay. Well, AJ Brown's target share is coming out of Dallas Goedert's, so there you go.
I mean, I don't think Goddard's meant to be in this team specifically like your volume guy as much as he's supposed to be an efficient option, which kind of is for the Eagles as well. I mean, he is volume too, but it's not like he's behind AJ and he's also behind Devontae.
Keep talking. I'm counting what we have.
So we have. I think
keep talking. Keep talking. Don't spoil it. Keep talking, please. Keep talking.
The way we do it is we'd have AJ and Terry, I think, on the outside. AJ is kind of your X receiver. Terry McLaurin's our Z, is our vertical guy, and then obviously you're using these guys in all kinds of ways, but just as a general kind of concept. And then I think CD, we would use CD in the slot here.
So all told, I have done the math for the 2023 NFC East All-Star Team offense. The Philadelphia Eagles have 5 players. The Dallas Cowboys 3.
6, but
the New York Giants. Again, if you want to be petulant about this, it's up to you. I'm not going to be petulant. The Dallas Cowboys have 3, including Tyler Smith, who rightfully and objectively earned his spot. The New York Giants have 2, and the Washington Commanders have the lone representative, Terry McLaurin, all by his lonesome, but still did make the team. This was a good group.
Who was the second closest Commander to make the list, do you think? If you're looking up and down the roster here, would it be Brian Robinson? I think you could make a case for.
I think it would be. Like it's not close, but it might be Jahan Dotson. Like,
I was gonna say actually, Dotson might be.
He might be the second closest, and the third would maybe be Brian Robinson. Like if you're if you're really kind of stretching and talking about like I have doubts about Saquon, I have doubts about Pollard, whatever. Like it's a tough scene there. I mean that's just really what it comes down to.
Robinson has the best chance to make it next year, I would say. As in addition, like in terms of like Commanders who aren't on the list this year.
Let's just play this game very quickly. Let's play this game very quickly. Who from each team that isn't on the team this year would you say has the best chance, like the best chance of the players not on the team this year to be on the team next year? For the Eagles, it's Devontae Smith, right?
Yeah.
It's easily, unless you want to go Landon Dickerson, it's Devontae Smith. For the Cowboys, I think it's Dak Prescott. If you play the like regression game, whatever, blah, blah, like Dak has a chance to be the quarterback of the division next year.
And for the Giants, I think it'd be Waller.
Yeah, Waller, and we already said the Commanders. Wow. Well, it's that time, Brandon, to pick or to add songs to the NFC East mixtape playlist. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. I'm gonna go with.
Well, wait on. Rachel sent her songs. We said this at the beginning of the week, and it was very kind of her to send both ahead of time. So Rachel's song submission for this week. This is a great song. She is adding "I Want to Dance with Somebody" by Whitney Houston.
Yeah. It's a banger.
Have you ever danced to that song?
Not a big dance guy.
I don't believe you.
Too big. Can't do it. I'm gonna hurt someone. I'm gonna
Okay.
elbow someone in the face.
Okay.
Accidentally.
Okay. 6'5", dancing on the dance floor. Okay. What song do you want to add? So we've got
I'm gonna
Rachel's.
add another heavy song. Really going heavy. I had something else in mind earlier this week, but then I just so happened to hear a song that I had been reminded about, and it's been in my head. I listened to it earlier today. We're going to go with Duality by Slipknot. Another very heavy add to the playlist.
This playlist is.
I'm feeling it.
This playlist is turning into something special.
It really is.
Okay. So I have talked about adding a song from this artist before, but we're recording this in advance because I'm traveling to California. So I really wanted to add like a California type vibe type song. Obviously Rachel added
California Love.
Yeah, she added California Love. I thought about going California Girls by Katy Perry, but again, when I think of California, so I have seen very few concerts. You're a heavy concert goer. I have been to maybe.
I mean, I wouldn't say heavy. I go to like a few a year.
Would you say you've been to like 20 concerts in your life? Is that fair?
Like, I mean, maybe over the course of my life.
That's what I'm saying. I think I've been to 3 concerts in my life.
Okay.
And so
I would say I'm an average concert goer.
Right. Okay. Well, compared to me. So it's been very, very
replacement level concert goer.
One concert I went to, if you want to call it that, was so we're going to San Diego. I've been to San Diego once before, and it was in 2004. And my cousin Jeremy and I, we went to Warped Tour San Diego.
Oh wow.
It was, I mean, at the time I don't think I fully grasped what Warped Tour was. But anyway, we saw Yellow Card there. It was super cool, like to see Yellow, like, and not really kind of understand who they were at the time. So I've talked about adding a song from Yellow Card before, and I thought about going Ocean Avenue because it was like, you know,
you've said this before.
I know that's just like, should I add the cliche Yellow Card song? But I don't want to do that. I want to be a little bit more off the beaten path. So I'm going to go with the song 23 by Yellow Card. It is one of their more underrated songs from the Ocean Avenue album.
I think I might know that.
It is a very, very good song. So
deep cut.
Yeah. Congratulations to us. We did it. We pulled off all the episodes this week. Thanks to Jimmy for joining us. Everybody can go back and listen to the Dumpster Fire episode. And everybody can make sure to follow Brandon on Threads because he's super excited about it. So
you said you were excited to see Yellow Card, right? At the Warped Tour?
I don't think I really knew who they were. Like, I mean, I was also like 15.
Well,
I was 14 at the time, so
you wouldn't be so excited to see Yellow Card if you were like, watching Manchester United play or something.
Okay.
Come on, that was good. Come on. I liked it. Everyone liked it. If you liked it, drop a comment in the YouTube section and tell me that you liked that.
I had to really think about that for a long time. Like I was like, is there like a controversy that I don't know? Like, did they play, in Manchester? Like, was there like a situation or something like at that concert? Like, I was so lost. Wow. That was good. All right, well done. Brandon, as we leave,
please.
Tell us 3 things you like the flavor of, but not the food.
Mango, that's definitely one.
Okay.
I wouldn't say. I would say I like the flavor more than the food. I'm not.
Okay, that's fine. I'll accept that too. Yeah, that's cool.
That's more. What else? Probably. I mean, like the fruit ones are easy to go with, right?
Yeah, like
cherry as well. I'm not like I don't like cherry the fruit, except for there's like the tart ones. But like mostly people have like the kind of more bland ones. Yeah. And what else do we have here? I'm thinking about fruits. Do you have one? Can you help me out with a third?
I was gonna say cherries. I have an opposite one. I love grapes, but I don't like grape flavored anything.
I disagree with that. I like both.
Well, okay.
I like banana flavor and bananas. I like. Oh well. I think I like watermelon the fruit more than the flavor.
Mm-hmm. You can do this. Did you have a third?
No, it's hard to think of. I'm trying to think of like fruit flavors.
How about this? I got one. How about sour apple? Like nobody likes sour apples. You know what I mean? But
I like sour apple everything.
But that's a really popular flavor. That's what I'm saying. Like, but do you ever eat sour apples? Like actual...
Like a Granny Smith, like the green apple? Yeah, I do. I like that. I like the flavor more than the fruit,
okay, then that counts. That's count.
They're both good, but I like the flavor more. Yeah.
All right, give us 3 words.
Bye.